The massive alien ship hung in the sky above New York City like a shining silver coin. On the observation deck of the United Nations building, Jin Park straightened his tie and took a deep breath. As Earth's chosen diplomat, he carried the weight of humanity on his shoulders. "They're ready for you, Mr. Park," his assistant said, holding the door open. The meeting room was silent as Jin walked in. 5 alien representatives sat across the table, their blue-tinted skin reflecting the morning light. The one in the middle, who had introduced himself as Duha, spoke first. "We have watched your planet for many years," Duha said in perfect English. "Your species is interesting." Jin noticed the slight pause before the word interesting. He had spent enough time in diplomatic circles to know when someone was being polite instead of honest. "We are honored by your presence," Jin replied, keeping his voice steady. "Earth looks forward to joining the galactic community." Duha shared a quick look with his colleagues. "Yes, about that. We have some concerns." Jin waited patiently. He had been briefed about staying calm and professional, no matter what the aliens said. "Your species spends so much time fighting among yourselves," Duha continued. "We have watched your wars, your conflicts. You must be terrified all the time, living in such fear of combat." Jin blinked, surprised by this conclusion. "I'm not sure I understand. Only a species that truly fears war would engage in it so often." Another alien, Hansol, added, "You fight because you are scared." This is not a criticism. Many young species share this fear. Jin fought back a smile. These aliens had completely misunderstood human nature. They thought humans fought wars because they were afraid of fighting. The truth was very different. "We have decided to accept Earth into the Galactic Council," Duha announced. "Under our protection, you will no longer need to live in fear of war. We will teach you peaceful ways." Just then, Jin's phone buzzed. He apologized and checked the message. It was from U.S. Army Command. Standard first contact protocols activated. 1st Armored Division running desert drills. 82nd Airborne on standby. Pacific Fleet at ready status. Business as usual. Jin put his phone away, hiding his amusement. While the aliens thought humans were cowering in fear, the U.S. military was calmly running its standard drills. Not out of fear, but out of preparation and professionalism. "Thank you for your generous offer," Jin said carefully. "However, I should inform you that Earth's nations have their own defense capabilities. The United States Army, for example." "Ah, yes, your primitive military forces," Hansol interrupted. "We have observed them. Do not worry, you won't need them anymore. The Council will protect you." Jin noticed Duha writing something in his notes. "Species shows strong attachment to military organizations, likely due to deep-rooted fear of conflict." The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens kept talking about peace, protection, and helping humans overcome their fear of war. Jin kept his diplomatic face on, but inside he was laughing. These aliens had no idea what they were talking about. As he left the meeting, Jin made 2 calls. First to the president, then to Colonel Lee Song at the Pentagon. "How did it go?" the colonel asked. "They think we fight wars because we're afraid of fighting," Jin said. "They completely misread us. They think humans are scared of conflict." There was a long pause on the other end. Then Colonel Lee Song started laughing. "Well," he said, "this should be interesting." Jin looked up at the alien ship as he walked back to his office. The Galactic Council thought they were dealing with a frightened species that needed protection. They thought humans fought wars because they feared combat. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Because if there was one thing Jin knew about human nature, it was this: humans didn't fight because they feared war. They fought because they were really, really good at it. The desert sun beat down on Fort Irwin as Colonel Lee Song watched the alien representative Hansol step out of his floating vehicle. The alien was sweating already, clearly uncomfortable in Earth's gravity. "Welcome to the National Training Center," Lee Song said, offering a bottle of water. We're honored to have you observe our exercises. Han Sol took the water with his three-fingered hand. Yes, what did you call it? Army. We want to understand your defensive capabilities. In the distance, an M1 Abrams tank kicked up dust as it moved across the training ground. The sound of its engine made Han Sol jump slightly. Don't worry, Li Song said, hiding his amusement. All training rounds today. No live ammunition. Ah, yes. Very good. Very safe, Han Sol said, relaxing. Safety is important for species that fear conflict. Li Song led Han Sol to the observation post. Below them, 2 companies of the 1st Armored Division were running combat drills. Tanks moved in perfect formation while infantry units provided support. In the sky, Apache helicopters practiced coordination with ground forces. Such loud machines, Han Sol noted, writing in his tablet. They must be very frightening for your soldiers. Actually, our soldiers find them reassuring, Li Song explained. The sound means support is nearby. Han Sol made another note. Uses noise to overcome fear response. A group of soldiers jogged past their position, carrying full combat gear in the hot sun. They weren't complaining or showing signs of fatigue. Instead, they were singing a cadence, their voices strong and unified. Why do they make noise while moving? Han Sol asked. Wouldn't silence be safer? It builds unity and spirit, Li Song said. It's tradition. Ah, a coping mechanism for fear. Fascinating. Li Song wanted to correct him but remembered Jin Park's advice. Let them think what they want. The truth would become clear soon enough. They moved on to the command center, where officers were running a complex battle simulation. Screens showed troop movements, supply lines, and combat scenarios. Han Sol watched as the commanders made quick decisions, adjusting their strategies in real time. Your species puts so much effort into preparing for conflict, Han Sol said. Such a waste of energy. Under council protection, you won't need any of this. Just then, an alert sounded. One of the training units had encountered a simulated enemy force. Li Song watched with pride as his soldiers responded perfectly, executing a complex flanking maneuver without hesitation. Remarkable, Han Sol muttered, writing quickly. They run toward danger. Must be a fear-induced panic response. The day continued with more demonstrations, hand-to-hand combat training, marksmanship practice, and urban warfare simulations. With each display, Han Sol seemed more convinced that humans were acting out of fear rather than skill. As the sun set, they watched the final exercise, a night operation using thermal imaging and coordinated team movements. I have seen enough, Han Sol announced. Your military is quaint, very primitive compared to council standards. But do not worry. You won't need these fear-based training rituals much longer. Li Song nodded politely. Thank you for your time, sir. Would you like to see anything else? No. My report to the council will be clear. Your species needs our protection and guidance to overcome your fear of conflict. As Han Sol's vehicle lifted off, Li Song's phone rang. It was Jin Park. How did it go? Jin asked. They still think we're scared, Li Song said, watching the dust settle on the training ground. Han Sol saw our best units in action and decided it was all just elaborate fear response. Jin laughed on the other end. Perfect. Let them think that. By the way, have you heard about the drachnids? The aggressive species moving toward our sector? Yes. The council thinks we'll need their protection when the drachnids arrive. Li Song looked at his troops cleaning their equipment, checking their weapons, and preparing for tomorrow's training. He smiled. Well, he said, the drachnids are in for a surprise. The emergency meeting room in the Galactic Council space station was filled with tension. Jin Park sat next to Colonel Li Song, watching the holographic display of the drachnid fleet moving through space. The alien ships looked like dark arrows, pointing straight at Earth's sector. Council member Kita stood up, his blue skin pale with worry. The Drachnids have rejected all attempts at peace talks. They demand immediate surrender of all planets in their path, including Earth. Jin asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, Kita said. But do not worry. The Council will protect you. Your species need not face this threat alone. Li Song shifted in his seat. He had spent the last week reviewing Drachnid battle tactics from the data the Council shared. They were aggressive, but their strategies were simple, predictable. We appreciate the Council's concern, Jin said carefully, but Earth would like to participate in its own defense. The room went quiet. Then several Council members started talking at once. Impossible. Too dangerous. They can't handle modern space combat. Duha raised his hand for silence. Jin, my friend, I understand your species feels the need to appear brave. But the Drachnids are not like your Earth wars. They are truly dangerous. We understand danger. Li Song spoke up. We've studied their tactics. Han Sol laughed nervously. Studied? Your primitive military can barely handle ground combat. Space warfare is far beyond your capabilities. Li Song pulled out a tablet and projected his own hologram. It showed a detailed analysis of Drachnid fleet movements and suggested counter-strategies. The Council members stared at the display, surprised by its complexity. This is unexpected, Kite admitted. But surely you understand that actually fighting the Drachnids would be our right, Jin interrupted. Earth has the right to defend itself. The Council members whispered among themselves. Finally, Duha spoke again. Perhaps we could allow Earth to maintain a small defensive force, under Council supervision, of course, to help you feel safer. Li Song stood up. With all respect, we don't need permission to defend our planet. You don't understand, Han Sol said. The Drachnids have never lost a battle. Their weapons are far advanced. Your species' fear of combat will. We don't fear combat, Li Song said quietly. We master it. The room fell silent again. Jin could see the Council members struggling to understand. They still thought humans were acting out of fear rather than confidence. Keita sighed. Very well. If Earth insists on participating in its own defense, we will permit it. But when you realize the true terror of space combat, the Council will be ready to protect you. As they left the meeting, Jin and Li Song shared a look. Through the station's window, they could see Earth floating in space, beautiful and blue. They still don't get it, do they? Li Song asked. No, Jin replied. They think we're trying to prove we're not scared. They don't understand we're actually good at this. Li Song's phone buzzed. He read the message and smiled. What is it? Jin asked. Pentagon just approved Operation First Welcome. All U.S. Army space defense units are moving to full readiness. The 1st Space Combat Brigade is already running drills with the new hybrid weapons. Jin looked back at the Council chamber. Should we tell them? No, Li Song said. Let them think we're just putting on a brave face. The Drachnids will find out soon enough what happens when they threaten Earth. As they walked to their ship, Li Song remembered something his drill sergeant had said years ago. The funny thing about war is that being good at it means you have to do it less often. But when you do have to fight, you make damn sure the enemy regrets starting it. The Drachnids were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Deep inside the Rocky Mountains, Sun Park stood in front of a massive alien engine. As the U.S. Army's lead weapons specialist, she had spent 3 months studying the technology the Council had carelessly shared with Earth. Try it now, she called to her team. The engine hummed to life, its blue glow mixing with the artificial lights of the underground base. But this wasn't just any alien engine. It was integrated with human technology. Sun smiled as the power readings stayed stable. Record that, she said. Version 37 is working. Above ground, Council observer Jai Ho watched U.S. Army units training with what he thought were simple combat simulators. He didn't know that inside each simulator was a piece of modified alien tech, helping soldiers learn space combat. Still practicing with fake battles, Jaiho asked Colonel Li Song. Your species' fear must run very deep. Li Song nodded politely. We find practice helpful. In another part of the base, soldiers were learning to use hybrid weapons, Earth guns modified with alien power sources. The Council had given Earth some outdated weapons as a gesture of good faith. They didn't realize that Sun Park and her team had already improved them. The Drachnids are now only 2 months away, Jaiho said, checking his tablet. Perhaps it's time to accept the Council's protection. We appreciate the offer, Li Song replied, but we'll stick to our own defense plans. Jaiho made another note. Humans stubbornly cling to primitive military methods, clear sign of deep-rooted fear response. Later that day, Sun Park met with Li Song in a secure room. How's Project Surprise coming along? Li Song asked. Sun pulled up a hologram showing their modified weapons and vehicles. Better than expected. We've combined their energy tech with our targeting systems. Plus, we found a way to hide our energy signatures. The Council won't detect it. No. Jaiho's scans only show what we want him to see. Old tanks, basic guns, nothing special. Li Song smiled. And the special projects. Sun switched the hologram to show their biggest secret, Earth's first space combat vehicles. They looked like normal aircraft, but they could fight in both atmosphere and space. Ready for testing, Sun said. The Council thinks we're building simple defense satellites. They have no idea these can fight. Just then, Jin Park entered the room. His face was serious. News from the Council, he said. The Drachnids destroyed another solar system. No survivors. They watched the footage in silence. The Drachnid ships moved like angry wasps, their weapons turning planets to dust. The Council is worried we'll panic when we see this, Jin added. If they only knew, Sun said, looking at their hidden fleet. How many ships do the Drachnids have? About 300 in their main fleet, Jin replied. Li Song thought about the 500 space fighters hidden in bases across Earth. The Council thought they were airplane hangars. They thought humans were too scared to build real weapons. Keep letting them think we're afraid, Li Song said. How long until our forces are ready, Sun? 3 weeks, she replied. All soldiers will be trained on the new systems by then. Good. The Drachnids think they're facing a primitive species hiding behind the Council. Let them keep thinking that. As they left the room, Jaiho was waiting outside. He had a concerned look on his face. I must report to the Council about your preparations, he said. They are primitive, but I suppose they might help you feel safer. Thank you for your concern, Li Song said seriously. After Jaiho left, Sun whispered, should we tell them? No, Li Song replied. Some lessons are best learned the hard way. The Drachnids want to fight Earth. Fine. Let's show them why that's a bad idea. In the mountain base, 500 pilots trained in secret, 3,000 soldiers learned to use hybrid weapons, and Earth prepared to teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating humans. The alert came at 3 a.m. Earth time. The Drachnids had attacked Earth's first space colony on Mars. Captain Min Li was ready. She had been waiting for this moment. All pilots to stations, she ordered from the hidden base beneath Cheyenne Mountain. This is not a drill. In the Council observation post, Jaiho watched in panic as Drachnid ships filled his screens. He rushed to warn the humans, expecting to find them hiding in fear. Instead, he found the base empty. On Mars, the Drachnid commander laughed as his ships surrounded the small human colony. His sensors showed only basic defenses, nothing that could stop his fleet. Primitive humans, he said to his crew. This will be easy. That's when his ship's alarms started blaring. Captain Min Li's voice came over all channels. This is the United States Space Combat Brigade. You are attacking a human colony. Leave now, or we will remove you. The Drachnid commander was confused. His sensors showed nothing but empty space. Then suddenly, 500 human ships appeared out of nowhere. They had been hiding using modified alien cloaking technology. Impossible. The The Drachnid commander shouted. "They're supposed to be primitive." Min Li's fleet moved like a well-trained ants team. Each ship knew its job. They had practiced this thousands of times in secret. "All units, execute pattern Delta," Min Li ordered. The human ships split into perfect formation. They moved faster than any ships the Drachnids had ever seen. Years of fighting in Earth's changing atmosphere had taught humans how to fly better than anyone in space. "Their weapons," a Drachnid officer said in shock. "They're using our technology. But better." Sun Park's hybrid weapons worked perfectly. Human guns powered by alien energy cores hit harder than pure alien weapons. The Drachnid's shields couldn't stop them. In the council chamber, the aliens watched in disbelief. Han Solo's mouth was open in shock. "This is impossible," he said. They were afraid. They were primitive. Jin Park stood beside him, watching the battle calmly. "No," he said. "You just thought we were." Back at the battle, the Drachnids tried to fight back, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Human pilots flew in ways that made no sense to alien minds. They took risks no other species would take. "Half their moves aren't in any combat manual," a Drachnid officer yelled. "That's because we wrote our own," Min Li said to her pilots. "Show them how the U.S. Army fights." The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, the Drachnid fleet was running away. They had lost 30 ships. The humans had lost none. Min Li's voice was calm as she reported back to Earth. "Colony is secure. Enemy fleet is retreating. No casualties on our side." In the council chamber, the aliens were still trying to understand what they had seen. Their best combat analysts were reviewing the battle footage. "Their ships," Kita said weakly. "They were not primitive at all." "No," Colonel Li Song agreed, entering the chamber. "They weren't." "Why didn't you tell us?" Duha asked. "Why let us think you were afraid?" Li Song looked at the battle display, showing the retreating Drachnid fleet. "Sometimes," he said, "the best advantage is letting your enemy underestimate you." As the council members talked in confused whispers, Jin Park got a message from Min Li. "Enemy fleet running at full speed. They're spreading the word to other Drachnids." Message reads, "Do not attack Earth colonies. Humans are not what we thought." Repeat, "Humans are not what we thought." Jin smiled. The Drachnids had learned what the council was just beginning to understand. Humans didn't fear war. They excelled at it. The main Drachnid fleet hung at the edge of the solar system. Their supreme commander, looking at the battle footage from Mars for the 10th time, could not believe what he was seeing. "Show me again," he ordered. "How did they hide their ships?" His science officer pointed at the screen. "The humans combined our cloaking technology with something new. They don't just hide, they become invisible in a way our sensors can't detect." On Earth, Sun Park was giving the council representatives a tour of their real military facilities. The looks on their faces made her smile. "This is what you were hiding?" Duha asked, staring at the rows of advanced hybrid weapons. "All this time?" "We weren't hiding," Sun explained. "You just didn't ask the right questions. You were so sure we were primitive that you never looked closely." In another part of the base, Colonel Li Song met with the Drachnid messenger who had arrived under a flag of truce. The alien looked nervous. "Our supreme commander offers peace talks," the messenger said. "We may have misjudged your species." Li Song kept his face serious. "May have. We thought. The council said you were afraid of war, that you would be easy to conquer. And now?" The messenger looked down at his tablet, which showed human ships destroying Drachnid vessels like they were paper targets. "Now we think it would be better to be friends," the messenger said quietly. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, Jin Park was dealing with a very different situation. Alien species that had ignored Earth before were now asking for military agreements. "Your combat techniques," one alien ambassador said. "They're unlike anything we've seen. Would Earth consider sharing its military knowledge?" Han Solo, who had once called humans primitive, now stood up to support the idea. Earth's forces have proven themselves. Perhaps they should take a larger role in galactic defense. Jin hid his amusement. Just a few months ago, these same aliens thought humans needed protection. Now they wanted human protection. Back at the Mars colony, Captain Minley was teaching alien pilots how to fly using human combat methods. The aliens struggled to understand. But these maneuvers aren't in any standard combat guide, one alien pilot said. That's the point, Min explained. In combat, doing the unexpected is an advantage. Humans learned this through centuries of warfare. The alien pilots watched in amazement as she demonstrated a complex flight pattern that used both space and atmosphere to gain tactical advantage. At the Pentagon, Lee Song received another message from the Drachnid Supreme Commander. They wanted to withdraw all forces from human-controlled space immediately. Should we let them go? An aide asked. Yes, Lee Song said. They've learned their lesson. Sometimes the best victory is the one where the enemy decides not to fight at all. In her lab, Sun Park was already working on new projects. The aliens had shared more of their technology, hoping to gain human military knowledge in return. They still don't quite understand, she told Jin Park during his visit. They think it's about the technology. But it's not. What is it about? Jin asked, though he already knew the answer. It's about how you use it. Humans don't just copy technology. We improve it. We adapt. We innovate. That's what makes us different. As the day ended, the council held an emergency session. They voted unanimously to create a new position, head of Galactic Defense Forces. Their first choice for the job, Colonel Lee Song. We were wrong about humans, Du-ha admitted during the ceremony. We thought you fought because you feared war. Now we understand. You fight because you understand war. And that makes all the difference. The galaxy was changing. And humanity, once thought to be primitive and fearful, was leading the way. The training room on the Galactic Defense Station was full of alien officers from 20 different species. They all watched as Colonel Lee Song walked to the front of the room. Welcome to Earth Combat Training Program, Day 1, he said. You're here because your worlds want to learn how humans fight. An alien raised his hand. Is it true that human children practice combat in something called video games? Lee Song smiled. Yes, we turn combat training into games. It helps people think better under pressure. In another part of the station, Sun Park was teaching alien engineers about human weapon design. She stood next to a table covered in different guns and energy weapons. The secret isn't making the biggest weapon, she explained. It's making one that works when you need it most. The aliens took notes quickly. 6 months ago, they had thought humans were primitive. Now they were learning that humans had centuries of combat experience to share. On Earth, Jin Park met with the Galactic Council. The huge meeting room was now decorated with both alien and human military symbols. Another 40 worlds have requested U.S. Army training programs, Jin reported. They all want to learn human combat methods. Han Sol, who now worked closely with humans, nodded in approval. Earth's military knowledge is impressive. We were foolish to think you were primitive. A common mistake, Jin said kindly. Many species think advanced technology means advanced fighting skills. Humans learned to fight with sticks and stones first. We learned strategy before we had fancy weapons. In space, Captain Minley led the first mixed-species space combat drill. Her fleet had ships from 12 different alien worlds, all learning to fly the human way. Remember, she said over the radio, unpredictable movement is your best defense. Don't just follow the manual. Think. Adapt. The alien ships tried to copy her flight patterns. Some crashed into each other. Others flew too carefully. Minley watched patiently. It took humans thousands of years to learn these skills, she told them. You'll get better with practice. Back at the training station, Lee Song showed the alien officers videos of old Earth battles. See how these soldiers adapt when their plans fail. he asked. That's the key. Humans don't just follow orders. We think on our feet. An alien officer spoke up. But isn't that dangerous? Going against the combat manual. Combat manuals are guidelines, not rules, Li Song explained. The best soldiers know when to follow them and when to try something new. In her lab, Sun Park tested new weapons with alien helpers. They had combined technology from 5 different species to make something new. Humans are good at taking different ideas and making them work together, she told her team. Just like we're doing now with different species. The Drachnids, who had once threatened Earth, now sent their own officers to learn. They were surprised to find humans willing to teach them. Why help us? A Drachnid captain asked Min Li during training. We were your enemies. Because good warriors know that today's enemy might be tomorrow's ally, she answered. Humans learned that lesson long ago. At the end of the day, Li Song met with Jin Park to discuss progress. How are the new students doing? Jin asked. They're learning, Li Song said. Some faster than others. But they all understand now. Humans don't fear war. We respect it. And that's why we're good at it. In space, Earth's influence grew stronger every day. More worlds joined the training program. More species learned human combat methods. And the galaxy became a more organized, better defended place. The species that had once thought humans were primitive now looked to Earth for leadership, because humans had shown them something important. True strength isn't about having the best weapons. It's about knowing how to use them wisely. Major Jun Park stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, looking at the emergency signals flashing across space. The Drachnid rebels, angry at their leaders for making peace, had gathered a massive fleet. They were attacking everywhere at once. Status report, Jun ordered. Rebel Drachnids attacking 12 sectors, his officer reported. They're hitting council worlds, human colonies, and friendly Drachnid planets. In the council chamber, alien leaders panicked. This was the biggest attack in galactic history, but Colonel Li Song remained calm. This is what the training was for, he said. Time to show what we've learned. Jun's ship, named Liberty, led the counterattack. Behind him flew the largest mixed fleet ever seen. Ships from 30 different species, all trained by humans. All units report in, Jun called. One by one, alien commanders responded. They used Earth military code names, spoke with confident voices. These weren't the scared aliens from months ago. They were trained warriors now. Enemy fleet approaching Sector 7, a sensor officer reported. Perfect, Jun said, just where we wanted them. The rebel Drachnids had expected easy targets. Instead, they found Jun's fleet waiting in perfect formation. Human combat doctrine was about to show its true power. Execute Operation Rolling Thunder, Jun ordered. The mixed fleet split into smaller groups, just like they had practiced. Some ships cloaked, others moved to high speed. The Drachnids couldn't track them all. They're using human tactics, a rebel commander shouted. But they're not human ships. That's right, Jun said over the radio. We taught them everything we know. The battle exploded across space. Alien ships flew like humans, fought like humans. They didn't follow old, predictable patterns. They adapted, changed plans, worked together in new ways. In her command center, Sun Park watched the battle data. The hybrid weapons she had designed were working perfectly. Every species had added their own technology to the mix, making something stronger than any one species could build alone. Send in the second wave, Jun ordered. More ships appeared from hidden positions. This was a classic human tactic, keeping reserves ready, waiting for the right moment. The rebel Drachnids had never learned this lesson. The rebels are breaking formation, an officer reported. Just like Earth armies learned centuries ago, Jun said. No battle plan survives first contact with the enemy, but good soldiers adapt. The rebel fleet tried to regroup, but they couldn't match the coordination of the mixed fleet. Every move they made was countered by tactics learned from Earth's long history of warfare. Their main fleet is trapped, Captain Min Li reported from her position, moving in for final attack. The rebel drachnids found themselves surrounded. Their advanced weapons couldn't save them from better strategy. Their larger numbers meant nothing against better training. "Surrender now," Jun broadcast to the rebel fleet. "This is your only warning." The rebel commander's voice shook as he responded. "How? How did you teach them to fight like this?" "We didn't teach them to fight like humans," Jun replied. "We taught them to think like humans. That's what makes the difference." The battle ended quickly after that. The rebel fleet surrendered, realizing they couldn't win against an enemy that fought smarter, not just harder. In the council chamber, Li Song received the victory report. The aliens who had once thought humans were primitive now stood and cheered. "Earth's combat doctrine has saved the galaxy," Duha announced. But Li Song shook his head. "No, working together saved the galaxy. Humans just showed the way." As the mixed fleet returned home, Jun Park looked at his crew, humans and aliens working side by side. They had proved something important today. The best warriors aren't the ones with the biggest guns. They're the ones who never stop learning. 1 year after the Great Battle, the Galactic Council looked very different. The huge chamber now had a new section where human military advisors sat. Colonel Li Song, wearing his formal uniform, stood at the center of the room. "The last rebel drachnid group surrendered yesterday," he reported. "The galaxy is at peace." Duha, who had once thought humans were primitive, nodded in respect. Thanks to Earth's leadership, who would have thought, 1 year ago, that humans would change everything? In the space around Earth, ships from 50 different species trained together. Captain Min Li watched from her command post as they practiced human combat moves. "Their flying gets better every day," she told Jin Park, who was visiting the station. "Soon they won't need our teachers anymore." "That's the goal," Jin replied, "to help them stand on their own." In her lab, now 3 times bigger than before, Sun Park worked with alien scientists from across the galaxy. They weren't just copying human ideas anymore. They were creating new things together. "See how the Drachnid power core works with the human targeting system," she explained to a group of visitors. "When we work together, we all become stronger." Major Jun Park, now commander of the mixed fleet, met with alien officers in the New Earth Military Academy. The school taught everything from ancient human battles to modern space combat. "Today's lesson is about something humans learned long ago," he told his class. "The best victory is the one where you don't have to fight at all." The aliens took notes carefully. They had learned that human military wisdom went far beyond just fighting. Back in the council chamber, Han Sol presented a report on the galaxy's new defense system. Ships from all species now work together, using human training methods and combined technology. "The galaxy has never been safer," he said, "and it all started because we were wrong about humans." Li Song remembered how it began, with aliens thinking humans were afraid of war. Now those same aliens understood that humans hadn't fought because of fear. They had fought to protect what they cared about. "Earth's colonies are growing," Jin reported to the council. "And not just with humans. Many species want to live and work together now." This was something no one had expected. Humans hadn't just taught the galaxy about fighting. They had taught it about cooperation. In the training fields outside the academy, soldiers from different species practiced together. They didn't just learn human combat moves. They learned human military values: loyalty, teamwork, creativity, and courage. "The galaxy has changed," Min Li said, watching the training, "and it all started because someone underestimated us." Sun Park's new project was the biggest yet, a defense system that combined technology from 100 different species. But the most important part wasn't the technology. "It's the trust," she explained. "Different species working together, sharing knowledge, protecting each other. That's what humans brought to the galaxy." As the day ended, Li Song stood with his old friends, Jin, Min, Sun, and Jun. They looked out at the earth below, beautiful And Blue, "Remember when they thought we were primitive?" Jin asked. "Remember when they wanted to protect us?" Min added with a smile. "Now they understand," Li Song said. "Humans didn't fight because we were afraid. We fought because we wanted peace. Real peace, the kind you have to work for." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. True strength wasn't about having the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It was about wisdom, cooperation, and the courage to stand up for what was right. The aliens who had once pitied humans now looked to Earth for guidance, because humans had shown them something important. The best warriors weren't the ones who loved war. They were the ones who understood it well enough to keep the peace.